is doing so brilliantly that I am actually getting 75 billion in the current account. Sorry, capital account, there is no problem. The same thing may come if the money, and in fact that is more assured one, that is that if some dollar comes unilaterally in India in the form of foreign direct investment, matlab some money comes, with that money one factory will be opened and the investment is for that factory. So the dollar comes, dollar is there in the RBI, and against this thing some rupee account has been created. With that rupee one land has been purchased in Baranagar area and some labor has been employed and so on and so forth. And that dollar is here in India, and in India is not actually, it's a liability, but it's a long-term liability. When the person will need this one, he opens up the factory, goes for doing some business. After 10 years, 15 years, the person or the company understands that okay, we cannot do this thing. So Nokia made some Indian sector 5, and after say 15 years Nokia realized that we cannot do this business, so we want to wind it up. So it's a long period kind of thing. When they will wind it up, fine. That money account taken to the dollar account, and then RBI will go through the papers, because the transfer here is not automatic. We don't have full capital account convertibility, and therefore this money, if we get, we are in a comfortable position. So two types of money could come in the capital account. One is FII, foreign institutional investment or portfolio investment, and the other is foreign direct investment. Foreign direct is more illiquid in the sense that it cannot go at one go. It will take some time. And portfolio is liquid or maybe semi-liquid. If someone finds that in another share market I will get a better return, he can really take it from India. But anyway, in the context of my story on current account deficit, what I want to get from this particular point is that if I need $75 billion on current, to meet the current account deficit, I can actually go for having this one. If there is a comfortable position in the capital account, money is pouring in India, in the say stock market, money is pouring in India in say foreign direct investment market, then there is no problem. What happened was that this actually was working fine in India during the period of 2003-4 to 2007-8. The capital market was booming and FDI had been coming like anything. For example, in 2006-7, 2007-8, $34,843 million India actually received under foreign direct investment. Even in 8-9, $41,879 million. So much money had been coming in India. And I will tell you, as the scenario changed in the sense that the GDP growth rate was declining, much investment opportunities were not visible in India, or better investment opportunities were being found in elsewhere, not in India, but in the other part of the globe. Then actually we were expected to be in trouble, because that $75 billion I must meet by inviting this kind of money in the capital account. If that does not come, if they think that Indian economy, India is not a very promising place, on the contrary, other economies are showing better prospect, then actually their prices will mount up, because you need $75 billion just to meet your current account deficit. Exactly this happens. US economy, people say, is picking up. Eurozone, mildly, what should I say, positive rate of growth has been registered even in Greece. USA and Eurozone taken together accounts for 50% of global GDP. If the economies there really go for picking up, then actually India cannot be the natural haven for such money. So question naturally comes, we could do very well between 2002-3 to 7-8. What went wrong? That the GDP growth rate declined to less than 4%, less than 5%. I would just tell you, I would refer one very important paper by our friend Nagaraj, which has appeared in EPW some 6 months ago. There, in fact, Nagaraj has 2 papers. And on that paper, on the basis of the available data, Nagaraj pointed out that this particular growth exercise between 2003-4 to 7-8 had actually been based on some activities, investment activities in limited spheres. The base was extremely narrow, and it was depending on growth prospect in the other part of the globe. The global trade had been increasing at a level of say 16%. Previously it was going by only 6%. And India actually during that period took advantage of this one, or got advantage of this one. Particularly in the area of software export. And as a result of this thing, even in the internal economy, some acceleration of the growth rate did come up. How this really worked, in which area this particular kind of thing came up, these details are there with me, but I don't have enough time to go for that one. But it was supposed to be, since it was based on a narrow kind of activities, and depending on how the global economy is doing, it was expected to be fragile, and it was proved to be fragile. As the 50% of the global economy, USA and Eurozone, faced crisis, that kind of export-led growth model faced crisis in India. India did not try to develop an alternative strategy by way of which it could explore the possibility of developing the internal market. Then possibly such a situation could have been avoided. But 2003-4 to 7-8, this particular kind of period when there was a dream run, the policymakers did not actually go forward, analyzing the causes of growth deeply and making a strategy, developing a strategy by which, in case this fails, how you can really go for maintaining this kind of growth rate, so the scenario does not become as precarious as it is now. In an open macro, you should always have plan A coupled with plan B. If this fails, because I cannot actually go for ruling over the global market. If it fails, I shall move with my plan B. China does it. This story that currencies are depreciating, there is a mad rush for lifting dollar and going to the USA. All these things happen without affecting the Chinese currency. When actually there is a nosedive in the global market, China has much exposure to the global market, 2007, 8, 8, 9 and so on. China quietly took a strategy by which the market that they lost globally outside China could really be substituted by exporting, developing investment possibilities internally. This growth rate declined, of course, but it did not plummet to a level of 45 in India. It was supposed to decline because the global economy was declining, but not as much as it happened in case of India. So how I would conclude, what I would just point out in conclusion is that this particular kind of model, where you are an open economy macro, a growth strategy in which you maintain a current account deficit, you have to maintain a current account deficit, which is to be met by inviting dollar, by getting dollar in the capital account. This particular kind of strategy, this particular kind of situation can create trouble for a weak economy like India. The economies which are strong, I am not actually discussing about USA. USA is a different kind of story. This it will take a long time to go for that one. But go to German economy, go to Chinese economy. One fundamental thing they have learned, that we have to maintain current account surplus or current account deficit. That actually gives us much strength in the freely floated currency world. I don't have any problem because I have much of your currency. If you attack my market, I'll just offload you. I have no problem. How you can go for doing this one? Your rate of growth of export should be higher than the rate of growth of import. If this is so and it continues for a long time, then even if with the current account deficit, even if you start with the current account deficit, it can really go for having a current account surplus. This was the trajectory which China followed. How could one do this thing? Actually, India should have developed a strategy by which its export competitiveness could actually develop. Our friend Sudip Chaudhary has a paper where he pointed out that in 90s, when the economy really opened up, Indian exports, he analyzed the export composition of India and pointed out that Indian manufacturing sector had really been doing well at that time. And after that, suddenly what happened was that in the composition of exports, this particular kind of item actually was being eliminated, was replaced with some other things, software and all this. And as a result, the basic strength of the economy in that particular area declined. In case of China, the scenario had been completely different. So what I would suggest is that India must develop a long run strategy. Nothing wrong in going global, but go global just keeping your feet in the local economy. You must know where you are standing, and from that one you shall have to develop your own strategy by which you can get the best of what the global economy can offer. This is how one can really stay in a global economy. Unfortunately, in India, I am sorry to say, from 91 on, we did not try to develop a proper strategy for development of India by taking the opportunity, by grabbing the opportunity which was developing globally. We did something spontaneously, sometimes spontaneously, sometimes even we developed a strategy which had really been harmful for us. We don't have neither a medium-term policy nor a long-term policy for developing a real export-led growth kind model by way of which the current account deficit thing could be turned into current account surplus. This crisis we are facing because of this one. I will end with the note that maybe by next 6 months you will find this particular kind of story is not existing there. India is again getting some development, opportunity for accelerating this export. The reason is that the US economy, if it picks up, and Euro economy, if it picks up, as I told you, it accounts for 50% of the global economy. If it really picks up, then global trade will definitely go on increasing. If global trade increases, then even if India loses some market to Bangladesh, it is losing in fact. 6% of the market in the garment sector, India has lost. And mainly to Bangladesh, which has increased export competitiveness, so much so that its share has increased by 16%. But anyway, even if India loses the market to its competitor, if the 50% of global economy really expands, goes for a boom, then some sign of prosperity in the export market of India will definitely come up. As a result, possibly dollar will stabilize at some point. I am not expecting that it will come back to a level of 55 or something. I am expecting that by after 6 months or so, slowly rupee will stabilize at a level of 60 rupees a dollar. Because by this time possibly our export rate will improve a bit, and possibly we are at the end of the wall in the sense that this particular kind of growth rate, which is that say 4.5 and so on, after this there will be some turnaround, and possibly it will end up by the end of this fiscal at a growth rate of say 5.5 or so on, particularly because Kharif prospect, everybody says, is better than what it had been the last year. Then possibly the scenario would not remain as gloomy as it is now, it will improve. But I will always tell you, yes, I will always keep the view that a country, a civilized country, should actually not depend on how the monsoon behaves or how actually US economy develops, to the extent that its growth rate will depend on these two factors. Must not be so. You must develop a plan A, you must have a plan B, and at the core of everything, what should be there is that we shall take up a strategy which will be Indian in the context of a global economy. This is how I perceive this situation. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Shri.
No, I don't. I don't have anything to add.
Yes, tell me.
We are in such a gloomy position, but Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, their currencies are not so weak. They have maintained their stability.
Yes.
What is the
answer is that if you go to the analysis of the export composition of India, I should have mentioned this one. Export composition of India, during this period, 2003-4 and so on, there was a dramatic change in the export composition of India where in the software market growth rate every year was 9.3%, and in the global economy its market share increased to, in 2000 it was 2.6% from 1995, and in service sector 47% was in the software. তো ওইটা যখন আমরা ডেভেলপ করেছি ওই দেশগুলো কিন্তু এটাতে এতটা আসে। Those countries were actually banking on the exportable items, which as some of them were traditional and some of them had been manufacturing of the new kind. In that particular area, India actually losing its market to its nearer competitors like the Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. As a result, owing to the global economy, this software-led kind of thing actually faced a crisis because of the financial crisis in the US economy. Whatever export was, whatever export market remained, had been on this manufacturing and the primary goods and all these things. But Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Pakistan had edge over India because they did not go for modernizing this one as India did. যদি ইন্ডিয়ার এক্সপোর্টের কম্পোজিশনটা ওদের মধ্যেই থেকে যেত তাহলে আমার ধারণা ইন্ডিয়া খুব গোলমালে যেত। চেঞ্জ করেছে যে জায়গায় এসে সেখানে সে গোলমালটা করেছে, আর আমরা ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং এ হেরেও গেছি ওদের কাছে, and also in primary exportable goods. That is the thing.
Maybe, I don't know, our exposure to the external items is much more than what Ceylon or
Also there.
So, it was, we didn't have that problem when we were in, say, 70s, when the exposure was about 10% or 15%, something like that. I mean, not this kind of problem that we are doing. But I will ask, I mean...
Yes, that is true. His point is that India is more exposed to the global economy than the Bangladesh, Sri Lanka.
Because we have liberalized everything.
Yes, yes. একটা জায়গায় প্রতিবেদন ইয়েতে পয়েন্টিং বলে একটা কথা, যেটা একটা জায়গায় দেখছিল যে জিডিপির পার্সেন্টেজ হিসেবে এটা ধরলে পরে এই সব কান্ট্রিগুলো অনেক উপরে ইন্ডিয়া আছে। That is true. But what I tell you,
there is another point.
But suppose exposure is there, but this is my question to Professor Mike. Export is done, exposure is there, fine. But our current account deficit is increasing like anything, which means that whatever we try to import could not improve. That one point, sorry, export we could not do, and our import has increased. Import increases point is তোমার কথাটাই মেনে নিতে পারি, ঠিকই আছে। এক্সপোর্টটা পাচ্ছে না।
ট্রেডিশনালি যে আমরা
যদি আমাদের আগের এক্সপোর্টেবল আইটেমগুলো থাকতো তাহলে পারতাম
না। আই ডোন্ট কম্পোজিশন ইজ চেঞ্জ,
মানে এই কম্পোজিশনটা বাংলাদেশের তো নেই, আমাদের
কম্পিটিটিভনেস ইজ অলসো চেঞ্জ। কম্পিটিটিভনেস ইজ অলসো চেঞ্জ।
কিন্তু ওরা কিভাবে কম্পোজিশনে আছে?
না, এগেইন আই চেঞ্জেস only for a long time can sustain a competition.
সেটাও ঠিক।
না, I will ask
এখানে জরুরি কথাটা মানে
I will ask
ওদিনে এটা রাখা যায় না, কিন্তু বাংলাদেশ হইলো দেব।
I will ask you one.
Yes.
What we should do now?
If I can, yes, sir.
See, what we should do now. See, when we first went for liberalization, let's say in 1991, I think the budget which was faced was none other than Professor Ratan. And then obviously, as you said, that we had to literally lift gold from Bombay airport to Heathrow airport. I mean, literally, as sort of security for the Bank of India. So we came over that phase. I mean, and Manmohan Singh presented a beautiful budget, I guess. And then everything, became smooth, and we went for liberalization. Now, point is that if we have this kind of a problem, and now I mean, should we go still for that liberalization or should we do something? I mean, I remember that at one time that when we were going out, you could get about 300 rupees worth of dollar or something, or maybe $300. Nowadays there is almost no restrictions. struggle, and I think imports also there are no restrictions. You can get a Mercedes car here and things like that. And who gains from these imports? I don't know. I mean, they're not the ordinary people.
Good.
Not the ordinary people. So should we go for steel leveraging imports and things like that? Or should we, I mean, I'm asking this question.
Yes, my answer is that I don't know the Toru will agree. Or question কি এই স্ট্র্যাটেজিটা দিয়ে চলবো না আমরা অন্য কিছু করব?
We have come to the stage of revelation now, at that stage where it cannot backtrack.
আমি জানতো আমার ধারণা তরুণ এই আনসারটাই দেবে যে we have come to a situation where it cannot go for a backtrack.
আমাদের উপায়
আচ্ছা কিছু পারা যায় কি এটা ভাবা যায় কিছু আচ্ছা ধরা যাক ফসিল ফুয়েল
But main concern
আচ্ছা তরুণ I want to ask I am arguing for Professor Maiti say for fossil fuel will it be disastrous না না আমি একটা কথা বলবো আমি বলে দিই
এই লেভেলে আলোচনা করতে আপনাদের দেখে আনলো
না না এই পয়েন্টটা আমি উত্তর দিয়ে দিই
তাদের সঙ্গে একটু আলোচনা
না ঠিক আছে will it be disastrous তরুণ যদি ধরা যাক আমি ফসিল ফুয়েলের উপরে কোয়ান্টিটেটিভ রেস্ট্রিকশন রাখি অসুবিধাটা কি আমি বেশি ফসিল ফুয়েল আনবো না there will be quantitative restriction on import of fossil fuel what is wrong with it আমি দেখছিল হারারে ডিলিট that is দেশটার নামটা কি জিম্বাবুয়ে during the crisis period Zimbabwe did it quantitative restriction on the import of fossil fuel মানে হচ্ছে আমি আমার কাছে একটা মোটর গাড়ি থাকলে আমি উইকে 3 দিনের সে আমি 30 লিটারের বেশি পাবো
selected restriction of course possible.
না ধরা যাক কিছু তো করা যায় আমরা কিছুটা বিল এর করে আনতে পারি
But I think the
Second
main
ধরা
thing is
যাক
that ultimately fundamentals, economic fundamentals has to be.
না সেটা তো মানছি কিন্তু some restrictions I am for Professor Maiti's argument that some restrictions and আমরা ব্যাকট্র্যাক করতে পারি কিনা আনসার হচ্ছে ধরা কি আমার দরকার আর ইম্পোর্ট কমাতে হবে ধরা এখন আমি পারছি না কিছু some quantitative restrictions I can go for doing এটা সম্ভব
এক্সপোর্টের না পাবলিক ট্রান্সপোর্ট সিস্টেমকে ধ্বংস করা হচ্ছে কারণ এটাকে অমানত দূরের কথা ইট হ্যাজ বিন এনকারেজ
ঠিক কথা ঠিক
We don't have
আমাদের গ্রোথটাকে ধরুন আমাদের গ্রোথটাকে আমরা কি আমরা অটোমোবাইলের গ্রোথ করে দিয়েছি না আমরা যখনই দেখছি যে অটোমোবাইল গুলো গ্রোথ হচ্ছে মানে একটা গাড়িতে 4টে লোক যাবে তার গ্রোথ ধরলেই বলা হচ্ছে ইকোনমি স্পিকিং না এই তো এই জায়গাটা ফেলেছি
Doing liberalization. I don't think
Huh?
that. I don't
No,
think it
I
has
think there
connection
is
with
some.
liberalization.
কি বলছো তুমি
It is local.
সমস্ত লেট
No,
থেকে
no,
automobile
the ambassador was the only car, I mean, which was produced.
exactly.
Now we have all kinds of cars here, not produced here, imported from outside.
এত দরকার ছিল
We need petroleum, but I don't think we need to keep cars of those
Yes,
kinds.
ঠিক তাই না পেট্রোলিয়াম ঠিক আছে
হ্যাঁ
কিন্তু ধরা যাক আমি যখন যদি বুঝে এটা দাম পাচ্ছি না আমি ডলারটাকে একটা লেভেলে রাখতে চাই দেন আই গো ফর কাটিং দ্য ধর $75 বিলিয়ন একটা অ্যারেঞ্জমেন্ট তোমায় করতে হবে দিস চিদাম্বরমস কম্পালশন আমি এটাকে $10 বিলিয়ন কমাতে পারি না কোশ্চেনটা আমার এই জায়গায় এটা যদি আমার একটা পলিসি নিই উই নিড অল দিস যেটা বলেছে সাধারণ মানুষ অত দরকার আছে এত যেগুলো ইম্পোর্ট হয় একটা বিগ বাজারে গেলে পরে আমি অস্ট্রেলিয়ান আপেল খাই সুইস চকলেট অল দিস থিংস ওজিএল এর লিস্ট তুমি দেখেছো আমি দেখছিলাম মাইন্ড বগলিং ফর 2003-04 almost everything you can import why some restrictions could have come there
লাটভিয়ার মতন দেশ তারা তো ইকোনমিক্যালি খুব একটা স্ট্রং নয় কিন্তু তাদের কারেন্সি অত দামি কি করে
কিন্তু আমি স্টাডি করি
নাইজেরিয়া একটা সুবিধা আছে
কে কোনটা নাইজেরিয়া
লাটভিয়া
ও লাটভিয়ার কথা বলছে না নাইজেরিয়া হলো পেট্রোলটা বলতাম কিন্তু আর ইউ হ্যাভ বিন ইন নাইজেরিয়া আচ্ছা লাটভিয়াটা আমি জানি না
অ্যারাউন্ড বোধহয় 125 টাকা মতো কাছাকাছি
140
100 উপরে
140
আমি প্রথম আমি এটা আমার ইগনোরেন্সের লেভেলটা আমি বুঝে নিই লাটভিয়া কি ইউরোতে পড়ছে না আর ইউ শিওর